New York City in early winter wasn't cruel, just honest. The wind didn't ask for permission before cutting through coats, and neither did the bills piling up on Lucas Gray's kitchen table. At 25, Lucas was a promising law student, with grades sharp as knives, and a future dimmer than the flickering bulb above his tiny sink. The rent was 3 weeks overdue. His part-time job at the law library barely paid for groceries, and his mother's hospital bills kept multiplying like shadows. The doctors had given up. Lucas hadn't, but he was running out of options. Then came the call. Missed. "Gray," the voice said smoothly. "I represent a client who wishes to enter into a private marital contract, legally binding. No romantic entanglements expected." Lucas frowned. "You're asking me to marry someone? A woman of considerable means. She is elderly and in poor health. The arrangement would provide you with financial security for 1 year. After that, you're free." It sounded like a joke, but Lucas wasn't laughing. That night, he stared at his mother's photo frail, smiling, unaware of the sacrifices he was about to make, and said yes. They married in silence. The ceremony took place in a private room at a downtown law firm. No flowers, no rings, just 2 signatures on a contract, witnessed by a notary. Celeste Vance, 71, wore a navy wool coat over a silk blouse, her silver hair pinned with clinical precision. She didn't look at Lucas when she said "I do." She didn't need to. Lucas stood stiffly beside her, dressed in his only suit, collar tight against his throat. She didn't ask why he agreed. He didn't ask why she needed him. Later, in the car ride to her mansion, she finally spoke. "You're not the first man to do something shameful for love," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Only difference is, you haven't figured out who you love yet." Lucas said nothing. He didn't know what she meant. Not yet. The Vance estate sat on the edge of Central Park, cloaked in ivy and silence. It smelled like old books, distant memories, and a hint of lavender. Lucas had expected extravagance. Instead, the mansion felt tired, like it missed someone. Each morning, he found Celeste in the garden, sitting by a stone bench with a book in hand. She never invited him to sit. He never asked. He was just the ghost walking her halls, living on borrowed air and better judgment. But over time, curiosity crept in. She read Chekhov and Rilke. Her notebooks were filled with sketches of children, sunflowers, and names he didn't recognize. And every night, she locked something, a letter, inside a small wooden box, high on the library shelf. Who was she writing to? 3 months in, Lucas received a letter from Celeste's attorney. She had updated her will. If Lucas stayed married to her for 1 full year, without filing for divorce, her fortune would not go to him. Instead, she would transfer everything to a charitable trust in the name of Lucas's mother, to provide scholarships for students with sick parents. Lucas stared at the paper for hours. She didn't save his mother. She chose something else. He should have felt anger, but what he felt was respect and, oddly, shame. That night, he found Celeste on the garden bench again, this time coughing into a silk handkerchief stained with blood. "You don't owe me anything," she said before he could speak. "I know," Lucas replied, and sat beside her. For the first time, it happened on a Thursday. He heard the music, first old jazz spilling softly from the record player downstairs. Then he saw her, Celeste, in a velvet dress, dances alone in the living room. The light hit her silver hair like moonlight on frost. Her eyes were closed. Her lips moved with the lyrics, and she was smiling. Lucas stepped into the room. She didn't stop dancing. "This was our song," she said. "He used to twirl me here every Sunday night." Lucas offered a hand. She hesitated, then took it. They danced, slowly, awkwardly, then gently. For 2 minutes, they were no longer 25 and 71. They were just 2 souls, sharing music, loss, and a memory. It was spring, when he found the letter. Not one meant for him, but one left open, on her desk addressed to a Samuel, never mailed. In it, Celeste wrote about a war clinic in Syria, about a boy who lost both parents in a bombing, and how she had cared for him like a son before they were separated. That boy, she later discovered, had survived, moved to the US, adopted, lost again. She thought he might have become a lawyer. Lucas's breath caught. That boy was him. He confronted her gently. Celeste nodded. I didn't know for sure, until I saw your eyes. The same eyes that stared at me from a hospital bed, asking if angels were real. Why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't need another savior, she said. You needed to save yourself. Celeste passed away quietly on a Sunday morning. Lucas found her in the garden chair, eyes closed, hands folded over a letter. His name was written on the front. Lucas, don't mourn me with regret. You gave me peace in my final season, and that's more than most find in a lifetime. You were never meant to marry me for love, but I loved you not romantically, but with the pride of a mother who saw her child finally believe in himself. There's a key in the envelope. Use it well. See? Lucas cried for hours, not because she died, but because he finally understood why she lived. The key opened the wooden box. Inside were 147 letters, one for each day of their marriage. Most were addressed to people she had helped. Others, such as children in orphanages, old patients, and strangers. The final letter? To Lucas. It was a blueprint. The Celeste Vance Foundation. A scholarship, a free legal aid center, a counseling hub, all in his name. Her gift to him was not wealth, but purpose. Lucas dropped out of corporate law. He opened an office in Brooklyn, and every week he returned to the garden to remember. One rainy afternoon, a boy knocked on Lucas's door. He was no more than 8, holding a painting wrapped in plastic. Are you the man who knew Celeste? The boy asked. She paid for my mom's surgery. She said I should give this to you if I ever wanted to say thank you. Lucas unwrapped the painting. It was him, sitting beside an old woman, in a garden full of sunflowers. Lucas smiled through tears. She'd love this, he said. Come inside. Let's hang it together. Years passed. The estate became a home for orphaned children. The garden bloomed with wild lavender and sunflowers. Lucas spoke often at schools, at fundraisers, and at courthouses, but in quiet moments, he returned to the bench. He didn't see Celeste in dreams. He saw her in the actions of others, in kindness given without reason, in a stranger's hand, on a crying child's back, with a teacher's encouragement, in a life redirected. He married again this time, for love. He named his daughter Grace Celeste Gray, because sometimes the woman you marry changes your life, and sometimes the woman you thought you were using was sent to save you.